What is the case all about? In the case of Chavez v. Gonzalez, General Register number 168338, February 15, 2008, the National Telecommunication Commission, or NTC, and the Department of Justice, or DOJ, are being challenged constitutionally. In the petition, Francisco Chavez disputed the DOJ secretary in the NTC's warning about the release of the contentious Garci tapes. The tapes, which purportedly contained a wiretap conversation of senior government officials, had drawn public and media attention. The main question of the case is whether the NTC and DOJ warnings constituted an illegal form of prior restraint on the media's freedom of expression and of the press. The case's central legal question was whether this government-issued statement unjustly prevented media outlets from reporting on the tapes, possibly in violation of RA 4200 or the anti-wiretapping law, and in opposition to the Constitution guarantees of free speech. The case also looked at the relationship between constitutional rights and the government's regulatory authority. This case is important because it addresses the conflict between press freedom and privacy law, such as wiretapping. What are the facts of the case? The lawsuit started when Chavez, a former public official, attempted to contest the DOJ and NTC's activities in relation to the transmission of the Garci tapes. The DOJ Secretary, Raul M. Gonzalez, openly cautioned media outlets what under the anti-wiretapping law, or Republic Act 4200, possession or distribution of the tapes might result in criminal prosecution. He said that broadcasting the videos would be considered a continuous offense that would be subject to legal penalties, and that anyone who did so might be arrested by anyone who knew about the crime. In a related news statement, the NTC cautioned radio and television stations that playing the tapes might be against RA 4200, as they may have been obtained by unlawful eavesdropping, which could result in license suspension or revocation. Concerns of a government agency regulating speech and perhaps violating press liberties were raised by the NTC's warning. The tape's authenticity and the possible chilling effect these warnings may have on the media's readiness to broadcast the material were at the heart of controversy. The purpose of the petition was to determine if the government's conduct violated the press right to free publication of information by engaging in unlawful prior restraint. What are the issues on the case? In this case, the primary issue was whether the warnings from the NTC and the Secretary Gonzalez of the DOJ amounted to prior restraint on the media, which is prohibited by the Philippine Constitution. The lawsuit specifically addressed if the NTC's warning issued in the public press release infringed on the media's freedom to broadcast the Garci tapes, and if it had a chilling effect on press and free expression. According to earlier decisions, such as Chavez v. Gonzalez, government acts that restrict speech or expression before it occurs are considered to be illegal unless they are specifically designed to address significant and particular risk. The case also sparked debate over the application of the anti-wiretapping law, or RA 4200, to the media's distribution of wiretap communications. The freedom of the press guarantees in the Constitution have to be balanced against the government's authority to control broadcast content, including by threatening to cancel licenses or take legal action. Lastly, a topic of debate whether the Department of Justice statement on the legality of airing the tapes was an overreach that violated constitutional rights or valid exercise of its prosecuting authorities. The government activities had to be evaluated by the court to see if they adhere to the constitutional principles and the legal limits established by Republic Act 4200. What is the ruling of the Supreme Court? The Supreme Court declared that the NTC on June 11, 2005 press release was unlawful prior restraint on the media. The court determined that a direct infringement on the press freedom had occurred when the NTC's warning to media outlets threatened to cancel licenses or face criminal charges if the tapes were broadcast. Such limitations are only allowed in extremely specific situations. The court said, such as where there is a clear and present danger to public order or national security, which was not the case in this instance. The court noted that the warning had a chilling effect on the media, resulting in speech restriction without any legal basis or judicial involvement. However, the court did not invalidate the DOJ's conduct because it did not find enough evidence to sustain the assertion that the DOJ Secretary words had the same impact. The judgment reiterated the government cautions against the press must not violate constitutional rights, even while the anti-wiretapping law RA 4200 must be applied. In this instance, the court determined that the NTC's action constituted censorship that was unconstitutional and it had overreached its regulatory power. What are my takeaways from this case? My takeaway from this case or learnings highlights the constitutional importance of the freedom of the press and of expression, especially in relation to the prior restraint. The case highlights how government acts that stifle free expression may have a chilling effect on media outlets and their capacity to cover news freely, especially when they are implemented by regulating agencies like the NTC. This serves as a warning that the government must not needlessly interfere with constitutionally protected rights, especially while the enforcing legislation like the anti-wiretapping law or Republic Act 4200. The court's ruling demonstrates the fine line that must be drawn between civil liberties and regulatory power. In order to guarantee that laws like RA 4200 that are meant to safeguard privacy are implemented without impairing the right to free speech, from a legal perspective, this ruler upholds the clear and present danger test as a benchmark for figuring out whether it is lawful to censor speech. It is also emphasizes that government agencies, including as the DOJ and NTC, should refrain from going beyond their authority in a way that might be seen as censorship. Lastly, this case emphasizes how crucial court supervision is to limiting government power and making sure that official measures do not unnecessarily restrict journalistic freedom.